The purpose of Wealth Talk is to educate, inform, and hopefully entertain you on the subject of building your wealth. WealthBuilders recommends you should always take independent financial, tax, or legal advice before making any decisions around your finances.
Welcome to episode 152 of Wealth Talk. My name is Christian Rodwell, the Membership Director for WealthBuilders, and I'm joined today online, on video, by Mr. Kevin Whelan. Hi, Kevin.
Hi, Chris. Good to see you again. Refreshed, recharged, ready for action following a nice long bank holiday weekend. So hopefully we've got a really great guest today. In fact,
yes, we have. We have invited another of our WealthBuilder Academy members to share their progress since they joined. So we'll be shining the spotlight on James Clack, who joined in December 2020. So, just coming up to a year and a half, and we'll be hearing exactly what steps James has taken following our recurring revenue roadmap, which is our process, Kevin, which we know is a tried and tested blueprint for anyone who wants to move from financial insecurity, where, of course, we know 95% of the population find themselves, to a place of financial independence.
Quite right. And it's a roadmap we love to share, isn't it? And I think while the roadmap is tried and tested, the way people apply it is always very different. And some really good lessons and revelations that you managed to draw out, as usual, Chris, in your professional interviewing. Well done, you.
Yeah. So we'll dive into that conversation with James, and as usual, we'll pop back afterwards and pull out some of the lessons.
Looking forward to it.
James, great to have you on Wealth Talk today.
Thank you, Christian. Good morning.
Yeah. So James, you've been with WealthBuilders as a member since December 2020. So, just coming up to perhaps a year and a half or so. And you've just been making great progress since you joined. You've been a fantastic member of the community, sharing and contributing. So it's a real pleasure to have you on the podcast today. And we're going to walk through the recurring revenue roadmap, as we do. So we know this is the journey that anybody who wants to move from place of financial insecurity to security to independence has to follow these steps. And we've laid it out, obviously, in our 9-step roadmap. And we're just going to talk through it and see how things have been going for you, James, since you joined.
Okay, look forward to it.
Cool. So I guess, the starting point is, what made you join WealthBuilders in the first place?
Yeah, well, I think a lot of that goes back to not having much focus. And I think it was probably going 2016, 17 when I had a realization that that following a divorce, that I think I had five buy-to-lets at the time, and I had to sell 4 of them. And at the same time, I had a pension calculation on my final salary pension at work, and they froze it and they stopped any more contributions. So when I looked and projected that out, I was thinking, this doesn't look good. So I needed to have a alternative plan in mind. So at the time, I had a friend who I bought the first buy-to-let with in 2006, and actually we've had the same tenant there ever since. And he runs one of the Bristol Pins for Simon Zushi, and he's very much in the property game. So I had a further conversation with him and went to a pin, and was pretty much focused on the property pillar. Then I bumped into somebody from the landlord pension scheme at the time as well, and they mentioned WealthBuilders. So at the time, I researched WealthBuilders and the landlord pension scheme and SSAS and all that sort of stuff. That's kind of how I got started in 2018, 2019.
Yeah, good. So, mindset, really important at the beginning. One of the things we do is also the wealth dynamics assessment at the beginning. So you took that, obviously, James. Did you have any realizations, kind of about your personality and some of your strengths and weaknesses there?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a dynamo personality, and I kind of knew my personality is I enjoy getting things started, and I'm probably less, interested. Less time spent on the detail and the sort of the analysis, the sort of not more. If you talk to, we do a lot of insights profiling, and I'm kind of more of a red stroke yellow and the green stroke blue, which is the plant and the analytical side of things. It's not that I don't enjoy it. I do enjoy doing it, but I had a bit of a realization then that probably the type of people or type of business that I needed, but also that the big challenge for me was to stay focused on one path. And so that was when I joined WealthBuilders, as you probably get onto I think it was at the end of 2020. That whole year I'd been drifting between strategies and commercial and all sorts of things. So I think the one big thing I needed was a roadmap and some real areas of focus, which is what WealthBuilders gave me.
Yeah, cool. Bit of structure there. Yeah. Okay. So step 1 is mindset, and step 2 then is foundation. So this is really about getting clear on, how much asset income that you're currently generating and how much do you require in order to reach your next wealth level. So there's obviously 5 levels of wealth: insecurity, security, independence, and then beyond that. Can you remember what level you were at when you joined, James?
Yeah, I mean, like a lot of people, it was definitely insecurity at the time, particularly 2017, 2018. And it was a bit of a wake-up call because, the day job, I thought I was doing quite well in my day job and everything else, but actually when you haven't got assets producing cash and you haven't got any assets or all the cash flow to cover your immediate costs, then it's a little bit worrying.
Yeah. However, I think you did have some assets, you had some property, so there was a little bit of asset income. Can you remember roughly how much you had at that point?
About £300 to £500 at the time, through a buy to let and some farmland which is in the family, which we rent out, and some stocks and shares that I've got in an ISA. So there was a little bit there, but it wasn't a great amount by any means.
So what is that next level for you then, James, when you set that security level? So that's really how much you need in order to cover all of your outgoings every month.
Yeah. So the financial security target that myself and my partner Lucy have set us is £4,500 a month.
All right. So that was the plan, how to get you to the 4.5K as soon as possible. So, okay, moving on to step 3 then. So step 3 is what we call the roof. And this is all about, protecting your assets and protecting yourself and your family and all of those things. So when you went through that process, James, was there anything that you identified that was missing, and have you put that in place now?
Yeah. So we, fortunately, we did, myself and Lucy decided to review where we were with wills, and we pretty much the first thing we did was to because we bought a new house together where we are now, as we put together a property will trust to protect either partner, and we also put in place a discretionary will trust as well, and quite fortunately I think we had some good advice at the time, and we put all that those protections in place. So before we got started on the journey. Yeah,
great. So that's really stage 1, which we call building confidence, and it's just getting all of those foundational important pieces in place. Not always the most enjoyable, fun things, but essential nonetheless. So that moves us into stage 2 then, which is all about building knowledge. And step 4 is where we look at the 7 pillars of wealth. So the assets, and we know the 7 different pillars, and which did you already have some experience of when you joined, James, and which ones have you been able to utilize since?
Yeah, I mean, when I first moved to Bristol, which was 2000, I bought my own place to live in, and I had 4 bedrooms and 3 bedrooms I rented out. So I had a bit of experience of your home capacity one then. And as I said, I bought a buy to let in 2006, which I didn't really know quite what I was doing at the time. And actually I did sell some properties which I bought myself to live in, and I wish I'd kept them actually prior to that. But so I had some experience in 2006 of the buy to lets, and then I proceeded, as I said, to get 3 or 4 more buy to lets and to let them out. But the one thing I'd never done was to invest in any education in myself. And I was always saying, I don't need that, or read a book, or do this. And I probably didn't value the community, the wider community, and the professional training, because I was a little bit cynical with it all. So I decided in 2019, I did some property training, went on a commercial training course and a serviced accommodation training course as well. And they were 3-day courses. And quite insightful. And I met some really good people. And one of the people I met was had converted a local authority building in Nottingham near Trent Bridge Cricket Ground into some serviced apartments, and he was letting out to umpires and I'm a big cricket fan, and he was letting out the umpires for months at a time when they had test matches there and everything else. And so I went to meet him, and I got quite inspired. And actually, at the time, service accommodation was kind of the buzzword, so I was quite excited by that. And at the same time, on the course, I found a number of other people who had holiday lets managed by one of the larger holiday let management companies, and a couple, one of them was really delighted. The other one was absolutely, just getting no returns. He was having really poor feedback, and guests were, it was just an absolute shambles. So I think a combination of those two things, plus having to have a real decision on which strategy I went to. So the training was invaluable. The people I met gave me some real insight as well, and I came away from that absolutely buzzing to do something similar. Yeah. So I think the next thing was I had an opportunity to buy into a sort of cottage near Snowdon with a couple of friends. So I bought that, and one of them was managing it from his mobile phone on booking.com. So I kind of had this, and at the same time, there's probably a lot of things going on here, but my partner Lucy had a friend in Abu Dhabi who had a second home on the south coast, which was redundant. So I kind of joined these dots up and thought, well, hang on, we can probably do a bit better than having that property empty, and the one I've got in Snowdon, we can probably do a bit better than in terms of managing that. And that's how we kind of got started.
Yeah. Fantastic. So leading off that then is leverage, really, which is step 5 of our roadmap. And what areas of leverage have you learnt about, James? And obviously we've got 5 areas that we talk about, in our first model, which is financial, intellectual, relationship, systems, and time. So can you provide any examples there, how you brought leverage into play?
Yeah, so I guess there's a few. I mean, there's obviously friends who have properties that were empty, or a couple of other friends that we've since purchased properties with and are now managing, who had spare capital to invest. So I think that's leverage there. We also my SSAS, my pension, I'd converted into a SSAS, which took about 18 months. And the IFA that I used to the SSAS told me that loan backs were illegal. Which wasn't particularly helpful at the time, until I got some further advice on it. But certainly the SSAS, I've since done a loan back and just in the process of doing another one. So that the SSAS and pension leverage was really, really good. And then joint ventures as well. I'm just currently doing a joint venture now with another WealthBuilders member, Claire Snaker, and I think there'll be a few more joint ventures to come as well. So and I suppose the final one was and I have a habit of sort of finding opportunities when I kind of least expect them or most want them or whatever. Was I bumped into somebody who's developing a channel manager at one of the networking events, and I guess networking events are what it's all about, and you do come across them, and they're very much focused on direct bookings and building they built the individual has built this channel manager actually is a holiday let serviced accommodation manager himself. It's a company called Zevu, and was one of the sort of founding guinea pigs for that product. And I've been with that company ever since. And so a bit of leverage on systems, SSAS, pensions, some friends' money, and some joint ventures, I guess, Christian.
Yeah, no, great. And so many things there wrapped up. That I think such good examples, really, of what you've mentioned is that if you're just trying to do everything in your own little bubble, you don't know about these things, right? I mean, if you rewind 5 years ago, would you ever have imagined when you fully just corporate life that you'd be able to unlock your pension, borrow money back, buy some more property, start generating recurring income from that, probably wasn't anything that you ever considered until you got the education, until you started networking with people who were doing it, and then giving you that kind of light bulb moment. You could do it yourself.
Yeah, it's incredible, and the power of utilizing power of leverage is huge. And I hadn't appreciated that, and pretty mind blowing. I think the challenge is there's so much leverage, and that's an additional problem once you start utilizing it. That's a different challenge, but once you realize it's there, it's fantastic.
Yeah, well, that kind of takes us quite nicely into stage 3 of our roadmap, which is all about building assets. So once you've got your confidence there at the bottom layer, you then build your knowledge. It's then about obviously implementing all of that knowledge, putting it into an action plan. So step 7 of the roadmap is focus. So once someone has chosen a strategy, the key is to follow the wheel of wealth. And that means getting some education, getting some support, having connections, doing your due diligence, and then taking guided action. And this is where our wealth coaches are there every month to help you stay laser focused and turn that wheel. So what benefits have you gained, James, from following this process and having that accountability from your coach each month?
Yeah, I mean, I think as I probably said earlier, that the big once I decided that holiday lets, service accommodation was the strategy we were going to follow. We then chose the geographic area, and we kind of narrowed into a niche. We weren't going to do apartments because it felt like a lot of people were doing that at the time. So we focused on 3 to 4 bed houses we're kind of self-elusive, very big on connecting them close, making sure they're close to nature, and giving, it's properly giving people a break. So they're all within touching distance of a national park and the beach, and they're all very similar. And we've kind of we're quite big on creating a brand. And I think what was one of the big benefit I got from the coaches was every time and Bronwyn won't mind me saying that every time we had a meeting, a call, that I was looking at going off at a tangent. I've seen this, that, or the other, and no, keep going as you are. So keep going in that strategy. So we even from a financial point of view, when we're looking to buy them for other investors, 80 to 120,000 is a sweet spot in terms of the properties in the areas that we look. Okay, it's and actually then I would start looking at 250 and 400,000 pounds. And no, keep focused on keep coming back to the market that you're focused in. So actually for our investors who bought properties at that, the returns are really good, and they're not in prime Lake District hotspots, but they are 20 minutes away from the Lake District in up and coming places that are really nice and have got everything you need. So so it was keeping that strategy focused, and I think that was really, really important. And I think not to give up as well, because one of the things, we're very big on direct bookings, and although we value the OTAs, your Booking.coms and Airbnbs, we value them, and we utilize them, and we're conscious of the reviews. We have got a big plan. Direct bookings is what we're all about, and that can be quite tough to get direct bookings. So I think keeping focused on the key areas was one of the massive benefits. For coaching sessions. Yeah.
And were there any key connections in those early stages when you were learning about service accommodation? Did you kind of go and look at anyone else's properties to see how they were doing it?
Yeah, so there was quite a lot, because when you start off on something, it's in the details, and things like third-party liability insurance and the insurances you need. Fortunately, we have got the right insurances, and just as well, because a couple of things have happened where we needed them. And that was after speaking to a recommendation from the coach to an expert in the field, and having discussions there. There's quite a lot of things when we were doing the loan back, the getting a security solicitor. And I think I got that from one of the WealthBuilders members. And, I didn't realise it was part of the jigsaw of when you do a loan back. So there's lots of little details along the way. And the more, I guess it's like anything, but the more we're growing now, and the more we're expanding. So we're just starting to look at We've just outsourced the calls to guests from 6 p.m. till 9 in the morning, which has given us some breathing space. That came from a recommendation from I think one of the community. Also, we're looking at a VA now to do some of the administration tasks, which is just about to start. Again, that came from somewhere else. So I think there's kind of a bit of leverage, but also it's the wider community that's really helped. And a lot of these details, they're not in any manual. Working with good people and good partners is really important to us. Good we value our investors and the partners, and actually that's still a people piece, but there's no manual for some of this, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, some very good lessons there. And as a creative dynamo type entrepreneur, some of the detail, the due diligence, it can be easy to kind of skip over that, can't it? So, I'm really pleased that you pointed out the importance of making sure those contracts, those insurances, those due diligence pieces are definitely taken care of. Following the wheel will hopefully generate some results, which is step 8. So we know that, sometimes it's recurring income, sometimes it's capital, but the key is really for us is to help you to generate enough recurring income from your assets each month so that you're moving closer and closer towards your security and independence target. So we heard where you were when you joined just under 18 months ago, James. That's around about the sort of 350 to 500 a month. What are you now generating in terms of monthly recurring income?
It's about 3,000 a month at the moment, and the 4.5 is in touch and distance, hopefully by the end of the year. So hopefully within 2 years the financial security figure will be reached, which is absolutely fantastic. When we set up the business 2019, the plan was to double the turnover. The ambition was to double the turnover every year for 5 years, and if we did that, then the independence figure would be, all being well, at the end of it. So we're at 2, and the financial security figure is in reach, I think, within the next 9 months, I would say. So it's been hasn't been easy though. We've had lots of personal setbacks. My partner had 2 miscarriages and ectopic pregnancy in that time, and she is very much in the business day to day. I'm not in the business day to day, and Lucy's got a property management background, which has really, really helped. But she's had some setbacks, and actually, to get through those, and the journey we've been on it's been even more remarkable, I would say, from my perspective.
No, it's a great result, and well done to both of you for that. And we talk about the journey from A to B in starting insecurity, moving to independence. Is anywhere between about 3 to 7 years, James. So 5 years as the average. And I think when we were talking, if things continue on the trajectory they are, then hopefully within that 5 years you will be around about the independence number. So that's really amazing.
Yeah, thank you. And I think as the business grows, we've got that looming now, so we've got challenges with that. And as we grow, there's lots of challenges. The more people we've got 1 employee now, and we'll take on others. So it's not going to be easy, but it started off, first 2 years have been good. So
yeah, but you've got the confidence. You believe you're on the right track now.
We're on the right track, and I think we'll still need mentors and some coaching, and the wider community and all the things. So I think provided we stick to what we've done so far, and we try not to grow too quickly, and we work with the right people and the right the whole team, because this is very much a team thing. And I've listed out, we list here all the people we work with, and there are dozens and dozens of really good people, and it hasn't been easy. And some of the housekeepers challenges we've been through 3 or 4 companies. We've found some excellent ones in one particular area now, but it doesn't happen immediately. So I think be a constant learning curve, I'm sure.
Yeah. And we've not even mentioned the fact that the last 2 years we've been in a global pandemic. So, on top of that, with a strategy service accommodation, which for many people was, really tough during that time. So, even more impressive. So, again, just want to say well done to you, James, and to Lucy, and really excited to see the ongoing journey. We'll definitely get you back some further updates in the future. And is there anything else that you see that's going to be really important just to help you over the next couple of years?
I think Jordan, as I say, we set the service accommodation business, holiday let business up just before COVID came down 2 months before, and then everything was shut. But during it, we had to flex into NHS. We had NHS workers, and we had some contractors on the wind farms up in Western Lake District, and we had to flex the model and the target audience. So I think remaining flexible is great, and moving forward, some of the sort of I guess I'm going to look at some further strategies. I quite like the converting a guest house into an apart hotel, and then the CMO, the sort of commercial multiple occupancy with multiple leases, and that too. So the challenge is to keep going with what we're doing, but sort of explore some of these wider opportunities as we go. So I think that'll be for me the really exciting bit, but not losing sight of the sort of core business as we go forward. So connecting with people who've done those sort of things will be really important.
Yeah. Well, take the word out of Kevin's mouth, which is focus your way to security and diversify your way to independence.
I know, it's ringing in my ears.
All right, James, look, thanks again for being such a great member of the WealthBuilders community. And thanks again for sharing with us today on WealthTalk.
Thank you, Christian. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, so lots of good points there from James. And always so pleasing to hear our members telling their own experiences, right? As you said at the beginning, everyone kind of follows the roadmap in their own individual, unique way. But the connection with other members, working together, it's just fantastic every single time. So we're going to pull out those lessons. Before we do that, let's pull out a review that we've received from Trustpilot, and I'm scrolling through and I can see one here from Josh. So Josh says, professional and supportive community. Having been a member for 9 months now, I've been extremely impressed with the structured nature of the process, the learning material available, and the variety of support available, whatever your ambitions are. The community is truly supportive to members at all stages of their journey, which really encourages you to step back, think about your goals, and develop actions that are right for you.
They never cease to amaze me, Chris. I mean, we're doing something right when people say those things. And of course, James as well is full testimony to the quality of being able to follow the roadmap. And as always, Chris, I love a good catalyst.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, it's a key part, isn't it? Step one is all about mindset. And that's always about, why are you doing this? What is it that's driving you? And for everyone, there's a reason why. And for James, he had an initial setback. He talked about, things that are happening in his life, and then that pension realization as well, which is a biggie, Kevin. We know that so many people kind of do the sums and say, hang on a minute, this isn't gonna look after me when I need it to.
Yeah, I mean, I encourage anybody who can just dig out the statement. When you finish the podcast, do me a favor. Go get your pension statement. Have a little look. And, it's the same with the mortgage statement. What I love are the two things I love about statements. The realization about what they're telling you comes right at the end when you get too bored to get that far, because both of them are shocking messages. On the mortgage statement, it says, your interest rate is this, and the property name is that, and blah, 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 and the monthly cost is this. And then right at the end, it says, and this mortgage will cost you a total of X. So you borrow 200,000, and it'll say, the total cost of this mortgage is 632,433, and you go, what? Because if you knew you were going to spend that much, you might pay attention to reducing that, which is really the subject of my first book, Save a Fortune. So every now and again, probably every 5 years, Chris, I get on a very, very large soapbox and shout and scream about it. So that is the debt one. The pension one, I'm going to shout and scream again, is have a look at something called the SMPI, Chris. Right? Mm. Yeah, there's a new one. It's not a sexy one. Statutory money purchase illustration. It's like a little summary at the end, and it says, based on what we think this will return as an average, based on inflation, which will be significantly understating inflation, by the way, we think your pension will be worth this in real terms. And that is what shocked the hell out of James. When you realize your pension is not going to make you wealthy. There's no pension can make you wealthy unless you've got a fantastic final salary pension and you earned a fortune. And for most people, those are long, long, long gone. So the only thing you can do with pensions, and just I implore you, please, if you're listening, get your statement now, have a look, because most people are going to get a terrible, terrible return. And I implore you to do this. Get in touch, right? And let us know, and we'll help you reduce those fees by at least 50%. On average, we can help people reduce those fees by 50%, which means so much more money is going to be kept by you, so much more money is going to be kept by your family, and so less money is going to be kept by an industry which profits by hiding things in the back of your statement. Rant over.
Yeah. Well, we better let people know how they can get in touch in order to do that. So please do drop us an email, hello@wealthbuilders.co.uk. Just put, pension review in the subject line. We'll pick that up. We'll get back to you on that, and we'll see where we can get those savings for you, because it's such a biggie. And
it's free, by the way. Just anybody's listening to this podcast, Chris, it's not a money making thing. This is me on a soapbox, but as a consumer champion, somebody who cares about people being able to live a life. And in a world where inflation is on the rise, everything is going up, up, up. If I can show you how you can get 50% reduction, this should be on the news. This isn't something that should be held in a podcast for a few thousand people every week. This should be big, big news. So get this message out. Anybody who's got a pension, boy, can they save fees. Technology has driven down the cost of fees, but unfortunately, unless you ask about it, it's a bit like let me think now, a utility company keeping you on the highest tariff unless you ask. It's exactly like that.
Yeah.
You must ask, and we can help you because we are entitled as qualified. We've got a team of qualified IPAs behind the scenes, and they can help take care of that for you. So anyway, do that. When James discovered that, right, he discovered his pension was not going to make him wealthy. He was drifting around like often people do. And that drift often leads to, I suppose, just, feeling okay, you're doing okay in your job.
Yeah.
And I know he's got a well-paid job, but having a well-paid job, that's great to be successful in work and even successful in business. But trading time for money, trading a product for money, trading a service for money is not a recipe for wealth. It's a recipe to keep you going in the same loop until you wake up one day and go, what happened? Yeah, and that's what wealth building is all about, is to stop that drift, get out of the eddy that you're in, reach out with your oar, we'll pull you out and get you on a different track where you can smoothly go downstream in your flow with your wealth dynamic, doing the things that you were meant to do, not doing things that, keeping you stuck where you're stuck.
Yeah. The other thing James mentioned at the beginning there, as well as sort of drifting, he was looking for a roadmap, he's looking for that focus, but he hadn't valued education up until that point. Had some property, didn't really know what he was doing with it. And then I guess it was a light bulb moment. He went and did some training and he realized the power of community, of people helping each other, and came away from that buzzing. And, thankfully found his way to WealthBuilders. Obviously, again, that came through some connections and conversations. And when he joined, like most, well, not most, but, many people, was at a level of financial insecurity. So that means, relying on that one source of income pretty much. And in James's case, that was from a job, as he said. But if that goes, then, you haven't got enough to pay all of your outgoings every month. And so one of the first steps is always to sit down and work out with our members, how much do you actually need? So we call that your financial security figure. So, each month, how much is going out to cover bills, the essentials, like the lockdown lifestyle, as we call it. And for James and his partner, Lucy, that figure was £4,500. So, we know now what the milestone is and put a plan together following the roadmap. So, so that plan really took on board a certain strategy within property, but the other element, which is really important before we start looking at assets and strategy and building that wealth, is making sure we've got a firm, secure roof. And, in James's case, he talked about some technical language there, putting in place a property will trust and discretionary will trust. And, we know this stuff can be quite complicated for people. And that's probably one of the reasons why many people just don't get it done.
Yeah, I think so. And look, the concept of a trust, if you read trust as a safety deposit box or bubble wrap, it's something that you wrap something around with a set of rules to keep it safe and to keep it under your control. And that's the essence of it. So there's no point going into different types of trust. They're just fancy names. But what they mean is you've given some rules to how you want something to be managed, whether it's while you're alive or when you pass. And these are very, very important things to get. But I think the point that James made about, I think he said he was cynical, right? And I'm not sure he was. I think cynical people believe everything is bad, everybody's bad. I think I would call James a healthy skeptic. You're doubting things, you need something to be proven, but once the proof is there, you go with it. So I would encourage you all to be healthy skeptics. If you're a cynic, don't come anywhere near WealthBuilders, because WealthBuilders is not for cynics. Don't mind a little bit of DIY, but you can't DIY some things. I can DIY a plug, but I couldn't DIY brain surgery. I can DIY painting a fence, but something that's critically important to the security of my family, like creating trust funds, I'm not going to DIY that. So you have to use experts when experts are needed. And the real skill, and I think we have that skill in WealthBuilders, Chris, is to be able to determine when do you need it, who do you need it from, and how do we make sure as guides, really, that we guide you to the right people so you feel safe, you feel the service is delivered, and that what you get is fair value, and that you can let us know how that's gone, because we just love working with, as we call them, partners, people who provide an outstanding level of service or experts in their niche. And niche is really important. And he actually talks about niche a little bit later, doesn't he? And he's a lover of cricket. But people who are outstanding in their niche and who deliver a first-rate service. And that's really what we want. And because we've got all those in play, then that saves an awful lot of time, because what you can't do with wealth, you can't Google your way to wealth. You can't do it. There's no manual for it. There's a roadmap, but somebody's got to be acting as a guide. And I think what he got surprised at, which is where the skeptic, not cynic, came in, is the fact that the community is there. The community are not for themselves. The community are for sharing. I think, Chris, it's a long time ago since I mentioned that wealth building and transitioning from insecurity to security and security to independence is like crossing over a bridge. And you remember that analogy, and we use it a lot, don't we? That when you cross the bridge, people have crossed it, and they're there extending their hand behind you to offer you help. Like we want you to do is when you move forward, you extend your hand behind you to help somebody else. And that's what happens, and it genuinely happens. And it isn't people saying, I'll help you, but you got to pay me this or do that. It's they help you because they're in a community. And there's no stronger reason to engage, certainly with WealthBuilders, than the power of our community.
Indeed. So we covered off stage one, which is all about building confidence. It's those foundational steps. Stage two is all about building knowledge. So, James looked at the different pillars that were available to him. He talked about the pension with the SSAS, setting that up. And of course, property, already had some experience, didn't really know what he was doing. Obviously now getting some more education. And then you have to pick a niche, as you mentioned, pick a strategy. And within property, there's, 12 or 15 different strategies that people can employ. And for James, his love of cricket kind of led him along, and got chatting and found someone who kind of really found a niche I don't think we've come across before, which is letting out to umpires next to the cricket ground.
Never heard of that before. And I think spectacularly brilliant for having found it. because that's what being in a niche is all about. Now, I've never seen a niche that tight, but being in a niche means you can become outstanding at it. And the more you can become outstanding in the niche, the more you're going to create value for you and value for others, and you can differentiate more than anybody else can do.
Yes, and then leverage is, at the heart of the roadmap, step 5, and there's different types of leverage. For James, though, it really felt like relationship leverage was a big one for him. He had friends who had some funds, some money sitting around, and obviously James, with his knowledge of property, was able to combine with the funds and start managing and buying some properties there. Systems as well. He talked about, some channel management systems as well, because technology really important to make sure you're not busy managing all the bookings and doing all of that stuff. So he also talked towards the end about taking on his first employee, So now, leveraging people to help run those systems. So yeah, some really good examples of leverage brought into play then. And of course, the leverage of the cash in the pension as well.
Yeah, and the community leverage, because he connected with Claire, who we've had, you could probably signpost when Claire was on, Chris, probably quite a while ago now.
Yeah, Claire was a former Spotlight member, so we'll link to Claire's interview in today's show notes as well.
Yeah, so there's collaboration and leverage all over the place, and you can't build wealth without leverage. So do remember, and I think you signposted, albeit briefly, Chris, in the podcast there, the 5 forms of leverage: financial, intellectual or interest, relationship, systems, and time. And the kind of the bookends of finance and time are really the critical ones, because that kind of shapes the direction you go. The more time you've got, the more you can look at strategies that demand more time. The more finance you've got, the bigger opportunities that you can deal with more complicated and ultimately potentially much more profitable scenarios. But there's room for everybody with small amount of money, small amount of time. Different strategies will apply to large amount of money, large amount of time. And that's part of what we do so well in WealthBuilders, is help people not just discover things by a random walk through strategies, but by looking at their leverage. Certainly in the early calls, when we look at that mind map, Chris, that you and your team create to show people where their leverage is at, and hopefully try and match them with the right strategy. And this all saves time. The intellectual shortcuts that happen here saves time, saves heartache, saves hassle, saves an awful lot of just struggling on your own to find a way to do this. And that's why I think it took me 15 years, didn't it? No guides, no mentors, no pre-trodden path. Had to create it on my own. Crumbs. I wish I knew WealthBuilders now. I could do it in 2 or 3 years if I knew what I knew. Now I know it with the wisdom that I have, but anybody else can do it within 3 to 7 years. So crumbs, 5 years, Chris. All you got to do is put 60 months of hard work and you'd be financially independent for the rest of your life. Who wouldn't do that?
Yeah. Well, the one wonderful thing which we often hear from our members when they're sharing is the word confidence. I'm confident now that if I continue on this track, I am going to hit my goals. I am going to hit a financial independence. And for James, he's not far away from security now. And considering he joined, under 18 months ago, security figure of $4,500 a month, we heard James say, I'm confident, I'm on track for that.
Yeah, heard that. Which, the 1,500 quid, and you can go up in big steps as well. That's a big step from 3 to 4.5 grand there. But those steps can get bigger. The more you know, the more you immerse yourself in it. Sometimes those steps are massive, and we've seen that before in different spotlights.
Yeah. I think that, that pretty much wraps it up. I mean, there was some other elements, of course. We know accountability, working with a coach, makes such a difference every month. In fact, I had a call with someone today and, they just said, that coaching call was coming up. I had saw it in my diary. It made me do that stuff, right? It made me get that stuff done. And that is the true, essence of accountability there. So, all of these things wrap together, which is why we've put it into, this easy to follow kind of step-by-step process, which we teach in the academy. And our team of coaches, our internal team, Richiko, our community support manager, making sure that everyone's got answers to their questions through our help desk, and just all of the other members who are there in the Facebook group every day, supporting and answering questions for one another. So yeah, it's a real team effort.
It's a real team effort, and even though we showed a picture of you, me, and Paul at Mercedes-Benz World, and we're looking ever so proud, weren't we? If you check us out on LinkedIn or Facebook, you'll see that picture. But we're always looking to expand that team. We're looking for people who are outstanding in sales, outstanding in marketing, and outstanding in finance, and they will be some of our next appointments. So if you love what WealthBuilders are doing, and if you're brilliant, if you've got a niche in sales or marketing or finance, then get in touch, because very soon, we'll be hiring. We'll be wanting to grow our team, because we are going big places and we need some great people to help us along the way.
Definitely. Yeah, do get in touch. Just to have a chat, who knows where that conversation might lead. As always, hello@wealthbuilders.co.uk is the easiest, fastest way to get in touch with Kevin and myself. And that pretty much wraps up today's episode. If you're not already a free member, then please do head to wealthbuilders.co.uk/membership. Lots of free videos, ebooks, things for you to do. You can book a free discovery call in there, just to have a chat, just to see if there's anything we can do to help you or to explain a bit more about the WealthBuilders Academy. So do jump on. And Kevin, we will catch up same time, same place next week.
Until then, my friend. See ya.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget that we are constantly updating our resources inside the WealthBuilders membership site to help you create, build, and protect your wealth. Head over to wealthbuilders.co.uk/membership right now for free access. That's wealthbuilders.co.uk/membership.